Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday, October 19th, and this will be our chart lesson for today. And it started out as another range day. Looked like we were going to go higher, then quickly sold off. I mean, it's really mixed up until about 12:30 or so, and then it was all downhill from there, and we closed on our low. So kind of backwards from what we've been seeing lately, where we closed on our high. Today we closed on the low. So, but still mostly mixed trading. Although we did end up moving down a measure, you can see the width of the range right here. We moved a perfect measured move, really, and closed near that low. So a lot of mixed trading here. There are some good many trades here, so I'm going to move through these pretty long day here. So, and it's late in the day, so I'm going to try to move through these. Most of these are pretty straightforward. I'll probably move through them pretty quickly. So um, we had the 7 o'clock 7:30 news this morning. Unemployment that's high volatility. We also had this chairman speaks. I've told you don't pay much attention to those. You be aware of them, but you can't really time those. Maybe this big sell-off here that happened around 11:30 had something to do with whatever he said. That's a very distinct possibility. But we recovered all that again and then sold off again. So I don't know if it did had any, if there's anything he said. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is what the price action does, and they'll write the news tonight to fit the price action and tell everybody what they think their reasons are. But it doesn't matter, and I don't think they really know. The market does what the market wants to do, and no matter what they tell you, don't believe most of it. Just follow the price action, follow your own skills. If you learn to read this chart, you don't need anybody to tell you what's going on. You can figure it all out on your own, and it doesn't matter why it did it. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, we had this early 7:30, so really nothing happening before that at 7 o'clock. So just sit tight and notice we had the channel working up. We got the break, a few swings up, and then we had a triple test here with a bearish bar. I like going short there. As long as there's room back to these lows, just take that trade, and there he is, and it ends up going a little further. You don't get a big move out of it, but hey, it's a quick, easy scalp, and then it comes back, makes another test of those highs, and then you get a lower high. I made this one green. It's moved a little bit far. It's not a huge. I mean, you could argue this to be a lower high, but it also you have to go short pretty much at the low there with some more support. So there's some reasons to have a little concern there, but this is probably the low you really need to worry about. So if you want to take a little risk there, that one's probably it's close to being red, but I still think we're better off waiting on better setups than that. And so it turns out to be a great move, but you don't know for sure, and so it is a little risky. Then we drop down. We get a close outside here at a new low, but that's not a real convincing close outside. But by the time we get here, we do, and you get a first entry and then a second entry and a big bearish bar. There's some sideways there, but I think you're going to probably make a new low, and hopefully we're headed to test the main low. So you're still looking for a short right here, and that's as good a setup as you're probably going to get. Um, and notice you do get the break and two legs to a new low, and then it just starts working sideways. This one's tempting, but I would wait on it. You don't know that you can't continue to kind of push lower here. And then before you know it, you can tell we're working sideways. But notice the move up, close outside, new high, and then a lower high right here. I like going short there. Um, this is played out. Now you'll have one running down. Of course, we end up bouncing down here, and then you do get a second entry long. It's pretty obvious this is a range now. Um, I like this one. I mean, we ran from the low to the high. We'll probably run from the high to the low, and that's what happens here. And so we'll probably run back to the high again until you start seeing evidence that you can't do that. Just keep taking the trades when you get a setup off the support and off the resistance. And so there's no reason not to go long right there. It runs to the top. If you'd got a good setup here, you could have gone short again. You don't get it. And here we got a channel working down, but we get a new low that's outside the support. So you got to be careful with this one. So I'd wait on a higher low or something, and you never really get that. You come back down. You could call this a higher low, maybe. But there's no, I don't like that setup. It does make a little lower low, and we couldn't even get back to the highs here. So be real careful with that one. Don't take that one. So I'd be careful with that one and wait. You do get a higher low here, but you just came off the high. So I'm not crazy. Even though it's first close outside, I don't think you can go long there. No short up here. You made a new high, but you don't even get a good signal bar. But you get your lower high right at the support again. If it breaks below that, go with it. Runs down, breaks out again. Again, it's tempting, but you're still inside that channel, so you might get a break and a new low, and that's exactly what happened. So even though this would have probably given you a scalp, I would wait. See if you get a higher low, which you don't, and you just turn back down and make your new low. And you do get a lower high here, but that's only the first test of the outside of the range. There's not really a setup to go short anyway, and so you really can't take advantage of this big move down. Really what you got here is, it looks like there's a move down. I'd probably count that as 2 legs down right there, and then look for a measured move, and you can see that's, we went a little further than that, but that's pretty much what you got, 2 measured legs down, and then it bounces. It's tempting to go long here. That's a little congested. I'd wait for a higher low. I don't see one. It runs up. Then you get your break. 2 leg correction. That one's tempting to take long, and you probably could take that one. But we still haven't made the move to the lows yet. So there's a chance we're not done going down. Maybe you take that trade. I'm just, it's a second entry. You get a break and a new low. It is a higher low. So maybe you take that one. But it runs up here and it makes a triple test right here. And you had some previous resistance right across there too. So you get a triple test, it breaks higher, turns down. I don't think I would wait and go short here. That's why I made the screen. And I'm not crazy about taking a engulfing bar on a bar with a tiny body like that, because it might turn into congestion. But by the time it closes, if it would have closed right in here, maybe, but it closes right at the midline, close to these other lows. So I'm just not crazy about it. Maybe you take the engulfing bar if you want to be a little aggressive. Maybe you even take it here if you want to be a little aggressive. I think you would have got I think there's still enough. I think you get enough to move to get out of that. Yeah, you get 6, 7 ticks. So you got more than you got a tick to spare, but you're pressing it there. So I just don't know. I made a green, but I'm not crazy about it. And you can see it just kind of bounces long, runs back up. It's tempting to take this one, but you make a little higher high there, and we've been making higher lows, so I'm not crazy about that one either. You see it runs back down, tests the lows a few times, and then goes up. But I'm just not crazy about it. It's another one you could argue to be green. And then we bounce around down here. This does not look like rejection down here. You do get rejection right here, but you don't have enough evidence that that's the low. It looks like the lows are right across here at first. I think they end up down here, but you need a few more tests, which you get here. And by that time, you're not getting rejection. So even though you get a triple test there with a good bar, I'm still not crazy about it. And then notice what happens. You can't really even get back up to the highs here. There's a lower high on this. But you got your, I didn't draw this. Let me back up here just a little bit so I can show you what I'm looking at. You got your trend down, you got your break, and you try to make a new low. You couldn't get one. Comes back and tests it again and tries. So, but you got you got another trend up right here. I don't always draw all these. And you got your break, but you didn't get a new high. And you get a second entry here. Don't take that into the mid line when you're kind of bouncing on both sides of it. And you see you would have got stopped out, but there's no setup to come back. So I don't, you would have got burnt. You would have got burned there. So it's a good reason not to take it. You're still looking, it still could go lower, it could go higher. You don't know what it's doing right here. It's kind of stopped going from high to low to low to high. And you can see it couldn't get back to the high, and it's just kind of rambling around the midline. Just sit tight. Don't take any of those trades. And it finally breaks out here. You do get a break and a couple of swings to a new low, and then you finally get a higher low here on a second entry. So maybe you take that one. I'm still not crazy about it. Even though they're sideways, it's not really rejection there yet, but it is a higher low. That's not really congestion. There's no bar with the tiny body or doji or anything. So you are a good bit away from the EMA. You pretty much have tested the low now. So maybe you take that one. Again, I think it's a little aggressive. All this stuff in here I think is aggressive. I just don't see anything that just jumps out and says, hey, this is a sure thing. And then we start running up here. We set the trend line here. We confirm it here. And that is a second entry if it breaks above that bar, but it's an inside bar and it doesn't break above it and you get another inside bar. So I really don't like entering there either. I think it's too risky. Notice we kind of make a couple of moves up. It looks like we might get a closeout, but I don't know that we do. I think it's more like that right there. And those are not convincing closes outside, but you finally do get a convincing close. You got a sure trend line working down, and you get a second entry here, but that's all inside that trend line. So don't take that because you see what happens is a trap, and you might even take the short on that trap. All you're really looking for there is a scalp on to maybe come back and test the midline after it broke through it. Normally when you break through a support resistance like that midline, it'll come back and test it. It actually goes a good bit lower because I think they trapped a lot of people there and they ran their stops. All these people that got long, they just ran them back out and then take it back higher again here. This one's tempting, but there's been no break of this trend line yet. And if you didn't take it on the engulfing bar, if you took it on the engulfing bar, you had to go long into the midline, which that's not always a good idea. You still would have plenty of room back to here and here, but you don't know that it's going there yet. So I'm not crazy about that one. Just sit tight, and you get a higher low here, but there's no setup. And next thing you know, it just rockets back up, and it breaks out the top. So look for a possible failure up here. And this is the retest, and there's clearly two legs up, and then you get some congestion, and then you get a lower high way away from the EMA. I like going short there. That's a great setup, and you can kind of ride this down. You do get a break and new low here, but you get two legs back up, and you're basically testing the top of the range again, and you get this bearish bar. That's a second entry short, and a lot of times you'll get two legs down before that trend is over. So I like that one. There's plenty of room to the lows there. You even get another lower high, but there's not much room left there. At this point, it looks like the lows are right here. They end up being a little lower, but there's just not room there. I think even if you drew it down here, I don't think you'd have room. Well, there is. Let me redraw that. Maybe there is room there, but I'm still not crazy about it. Yeah, there's 2 points there, but I still would not take that trade. Because originally you would have your lows right there where the closes are, and you can see you don't have room there. But it ends up moving a little lower, and you actually get a triple test here with a nice signal bar, and you could call that a second entry. We're not looking for second entries here, but if you get one, pay attention to it. And that's good for a scalp. And notice how we make a lower high. It looks like we're going to fail out the low side and go lower. We do fail out, but it reverses real quick. So that's why you can't go short into that support, but I don't see any long there either. And this thing just takes off again. We get a close outside, and it tries to go higher twice and gives you a lower high with a big bearish bar. Just go short. At this point, you're just expecting it to come back to the EMA and maybe make a new high. Doesn't do that. It just, the bottom falls out of it. So maybe this is where some kind of news, maybe something the Fed chair says up here. But it comes down, tries to go higher twice. There's really, I don't think there's a second entry there, but it tries to go higher. You might argue that's a triple test, but that's just too congested, and it only has to go a few ticks, and it would have a new low on the close, and it could reverse on you. It doesn't end up doing that, and once you start seeing it going lower again, draw your new trend line. There might even be one right down through here. I didn't draw this one. I don't think you needed this necessarily, but you could draw it, and it looks like it's probably valid. So if you drew that, nothing wrong with that. If you did draw that, it's still, you really only got your confirmation of your trend here, And that's really not a second entry. Notice there's a first entry and then there's a second entry, and so this would be a third entry, and that looks too congested. So I didn't really like that. It's not quite back to the EMA either. So I just think you kind of had to ignore that. And then you're really not closed outside and got a new high of that little channel there. Same thing here, just a first entry. There is a second entry here, but we had a breakout, and then we've only tested that previous support once, so it hadn't proven as resistance. So I'm not crazy about that trade. It's a possibility, but generally when you take a short on a breakout, you want to see it tested 3 times, or you want to get a perfect setup. And even though that's a second entry with a nice signal bar, that's not a perfect setup. There's a lot of congestion there. So I don't like it. And you can see it doesn't go very far, and then you get a triple test with a nice signal bar with a chance to ride the breakout back, and that's what happens. It comes back, and next thing you know, you're back in the channel. Most all breakouts fail, even if it's only temporary. But before you try to get short, make sure you get multiple tests of the resistance that now acts as support. And if it broke out the top, you'd want to get multiple tests of the support that used to be resistance. They have to flip-flop. And I don't see any news that says this is flip-flopped here. Again, that's tempting to go short right there, but there's not much room. You're back inside the channel, and you see it fails quickly and goes higher. You might find the congestion here and go long here, but you'd probably have to do it on the engulfing bar, because you can't go long right into support resistance, because it might be acting as support and not resistance. You can't tell what it's doing right there. So if you don't know, you're gambling if you go take a trade. So just wait. And then next thing you know, you get 2 legs back that bounces right off the support. So it's still support. That's where you go long. And notice too, you got the channel, the break, the new low. So you got everything you need there to go long. You get a higher low here, but I don't think you want to go long at the top of that move, especially with some resistance across there. But then you get the failure. Right here, it actually breaks lower and turns up. Just go long. You could wait for that bar to close or go long right there. It's a failure, and look at it go. That's where you got a reversal there. We're going back the other side. We're back in the channel and going the other way again. So that's a good place. That's where you're looking for a reversal. I don't see any other trades here you could trade, and then it comes back. You get a first entry. It tries to go lower. If it breaks above there, there's a little 2-bar match now. That's a second entry long, and it's right off a proven key entry point. It's right at the midline. It's above the midline. That's your secondary chance to get in with still plenty of room. You can't enter in here. Even with this second entry right here, don't enter that. It's too congested. You see what would happen? You would have got burned only to see it go up, and you're only looking for prices to go here. They might break out, but you don't know, so just don't go long up here. It does go higher, and now you've had a break and you got a couple of legs up. You can't take that first short really. I guess you could gamble on that one. It's another one you might say, okay, it's green, but I'd wait for a lower high, which is here, and you don't get a setup. This is a reversal, but it doesn't really set up right. You're not really knowing if you're going to get a reversal yet, because it could bounce here off the support. So just skip that one. You can't go long right there. And finally you get a lower high here, but you still got this green channel. Then you get a lower high, which might not be a bad entry. You don't want to enter that engulfing with the congestion right there. And once this closes, it's not bearish enough. And we come back down, we chop around. Again, you can't go long into here. And you don't get a short. I mean, it keeps trying to go higher, but it can't, and then suddenly it's selling off, and I just don't see any way to get in that. There's no good setups here. If that would have given you a good signal ball right there, that would have been a second entry short. Notice we went lower and then broke higher and turned down again. That's a higher low than this one, than either one of these. That's a higher low than this one, because you got another higher low. So that would have been a new low. So that would have been clearly 2 measured legs up and a short right off a possible trend line that confirms it right there, but there's no setup. So unfortunately, you can't take that one. And you don't get another chance to enter until it's got a break and you've already had a new low. And you're just chopping along. This is too congested. There's not, you're not running back to even the top here. You're coming up short. Don't take that. There is a higher low here on the second entry. That's a possibility. Um, I didn't mark that one, but it's because if you draw your little channel, there's no close outside of it yet. So that concerns me. It is a higher low after we bounced here multiple times, but we're still in this down channel right here. At this point, this could be an overshoot. So maybe you take that higher low on the second entry. But if you wait a minute, you get another one here. And now you're proving you're running from high to low. That's the better entry. And it's good for a scalp. And notice how it doesn't go higher again. So now you're only considering from high to low to be from the midline to here. And so you get another one here, but it makes a new low. So just kind of sit tight. It would have worked, but don't risk it. And then you get another second entry here. But notice how we're making these lower highs and lower lows. And again, if you draw your little channel down, there's been no break. So I think it's foolish to go long there. Again, it would have worked, but you have no way of knowing that ahead of time. It doesn't fit our rules, so you just be gambling. You do get a lower high that breaks higher and turns down. It's just a first entry. We have been turning down across there, so this is another one that maybe. But me, I like to wait and get something that's a sure thing, and you just really don't get it here. And next thing you know, it's running lower. And then we're running sideways here, and there's actually a triple test here with a nice signal bar when you're expecting a new low, but we don't have much room to the low there. It's only like, it's 7 ticks, so it's relatively low risk, and it's a pretty good signal bar. The problem is you just don't have much room there. Really, you're probably considering the low. What in the world? Right there, and you only have 1 point. If you go to the lows, you got enough room to get out there, but I'm just not crazy. I marked it green. I probably wouldn't take it. And we drop down and we're just working sideways. And we're back in another channel here. We're running high to low, high to low. And originally I had the low here, but eventually I move it on down. Probably is just slightly higher than that. And we come back up here and you've got at least a triple test there. Pretty good signal bar. We ran from high to low, or low to high. So we'll probably run low to high. We're in a downtrend. Maybe you take that one. I marked it red. Pretty good signal bar. That big bar is just kind of a sucker bar that suckers longs in. Then you run down, then you bounce off the low. Again, you made a new low, so I wasn't crazy about making that one blue. It looks a little congested across there, and you did make a lower low. It's back inside. It's probably okay, so I at least gave it a green, but it's not 100%. We run up here, we break out. What's going to happen? It's probably going to fail, just like it failed on the breakout down here. This is a certain breakout because it closes outside, but no good signal bar. Then it bounces, and you're just kind of chopping along. I didn't draw the measured move here. If you do, notice we're not even quite getting a measured move there. It may be because this is really a little bit higher. When we bounced higher there again, you might have moved that back up to those closes. And then these are failed breakouts, and this kind of fits better. You still don't quite get a measured move, though. No short there, no long here, and then you're back up here. Too congested, signal bar no good, too congested. You finally break out down here. You don't want to take that first breakout. You do get a higher low here. If there's enough room there, it's another one that maybe, but it just kind of looks congested. You got 3 bars, they're kind of going sideways. I think you're better. It's getting late in the day, so I think you're better off to wait. And I just never see anything. Notice how we're making higher lows, or I'm sorry, we're making lower highs and lower lows. Look at this. We got a high, a low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low. Then you basically make a double top, and so you can't go short there, and you don't want to go long making lower highs and lower lows. It's just not it's not something you want to do. It's probably going to fail, but you need at least a higher low and a good signal bar. You do get a higher low here. Really good signal bar, but it's 16 ticks and it's 2 minutes before 2:30. I just think it's too. You don't want to go long there. You might have considered this one, but then you got congestion there. So I just don't think you can go long. It's too late now. It's too late in the day, and so this is all just very congested and very. I mean, we're still kind of trying to go low, but we got too much support to go short, and so you don't want to take a chance on a long. Really, it's just not a good place. So there it is. Really crazy day. Lots of swings, lots of. I mean, who knows what this market wants to do? The market doesn't know. So just follow the price action. Let it show you what it's going to do. Be careful. Follow the rules. Be patient. Be disciplined. And you can still make good money in this on a day like this. Because if you can't find one or two trades out of all this by just sitting tight, you'll eventually find one. Stick to the basics. You'll find a trade in there, and you only need a couple of them, and you can still make your money for the day. You might even get a runner on some of these breakouts. So keep that in mind. Anyways, 30 minutes worth almost. I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.